NYPD sergeant sentenced to 2 months in prison for lying about work sifting through ground zero debris. You mean fraud? A former NYPD sergeant was sentenced to 2 months in prison Wednesday for her years-long attempts to receive 9/11 health benefits by falsely claiming she had did dangerous work sifting through toxic ground zero debris. Sally Spinoza, 56, mocked the victims of the 9/11 attacks through her false applications, Judge Paul Engelmeyer said. The sergeant, who retired from the NYPD in July of 2019, claimed on official paperwork for the 9/11 World Trade Center Health Program and 9/11 Victim Compensation Fund that she had worked at the Fresh Kills landfill in Staten Island for 62 days straight from September 20th, 2001 to November 20th of 2001. In reality, Spinoza was on parental leave or doing very limited work because she was pregnant. Police records show Spinoza was on limited duty starting the weeks before the World Trade Center attacks until Christmas of 2001. The shameless ex-sergeant's repeated applications to benefits programs over the course of nearly 10 years were denied. Undeterred, she joined lawsuits over the 9/11 attacks and received $54,000, money she was ordered to pay back as part of her sentence. Additionally, the affidavit that Spinoza allegedly submitted in support of her VCF application was fraudulent and was never signed by her supervisor, the supervisor said. Despite her claims being fraudulent, according to prosecutors, she was granted benefits in 2017. The WTCHP has since paid for certain medical visits and prescriptions for Spinoza. According to prosecutors' city court documents, Spinoza's original fraudulent application to the VCF was denied in 2014. However, she reapplied in 2017 and 2018, relying on the same false and fraudulent information. Your crime is very troubling, Engelmeyer said, adding that Spinoza used 9/11 as an opportunity for personal enrichment. Your conduct mocked the victims of that day, he said. Fresh Kills served as a forensic site after the attacks on World Trade Center. Some 1.8 million tons of Twin Tower debris were dumped at the landfill, where workers sifted through the rubble for human remains and other evidence. The toxic material has caused elevated rates of cancer among people who lived near or worked at the site. Spinoza, who worked in Staten Island's investigation unit, claims she suffered from asthma and chronic sinusitis due to her work at the landfill. She made numerous false claims to the program from 2008 to 2017, including that she supervised the dumping of human remains from 2001 to June 2002. The tearful cop admitted her wrongdoing in court, saying she wholeheartedly apologized to all the 9/11 victims. I know I made a huge mistake, she said before breaking down like a Karen. I can assure you you'll never see me again in court. My arrest has scarred and tarnished my reputation with my sons, the mother of two said. My life is forever changed. Though Engelmeyer thanked Spinoza for her 33 years of spotless service for the NYPD as a patrol officer, detective, and eventually sergeant, he said that it was necessary to give her a brief stint in prison to deter others from cheating the program that relies on the honesty of those who apply for benefits. This woman committed fraud. There are people who, if they get Medicaid and they prove that you have the money or you lied on your Medicaid form, they're sending you to jail.
What are the most common outcomes of Medicaid fraud investigation? The first scenario of Medicaid fraud investigation is the worst one. It's when the Medicaid investigator sees that you really lied on your Medicaid application and they decide not to settle the case but to send it directly to criminal investigation. In such case, you will end up in either Brooklyn or Manhattan DA's office, where a special prosecutor is going to investigate your case, most likely bring the charges of felony conviction against you, and you will have to be arraigned and processed through the courts of the state of New York.
Okay, there are women who lied about their address on their child's application or children's admission into school, and they went to jail.
Okay, we've been telling you about Tanya McDowell. She's the single homeless mother who stands accused of stealing her son's public education.
Tanya McDowell is a Connecticut mother jailed for what authorities call stealing an education. That is, for registering her son AJ at an address not in the school district where she last lived before becoming homeless. In April of 2011, Connecticut police arrested McDowell and charged her with first-degree larceny for allegedly stealing an education for her son, AJ. After the larceny charges were filed, undercover Connecticut police additionally charged McDowell with 4 counts of drug trafficking, charges she and her lawyer adamantly deny. Now facing 115 years behind bars, McDowell did what she thought was best for her son and accepted a plea offer on all of the charges brought against her by the government. McDowell served 3 years out of a 5-year sentence in a women's prison in Connecticut.
This woman lied, knowing god darn well she was pregnant, about saving and sifting through the remains of 9/11 victims. And he gave her a slap on the wrist. I also want to address this 33 years of spotless service. Any person who has the character to lie, bold-faced lie, numerous times lie, there's no way they performed 33 years of spotless service. I would like to know more about this service that she provided as a police officer. That her record needs to be looked into. Spinoza will serve home detention for 4 months after her release from prison. She is scheduled to surrender herself to the Bureau of Prisons on January 14th to serve her sentence. My client served the city honorably, get out of here, for 33 years. We don't want to forget that. She's ready to move on and enjoy the next phase of her life, defense attorney said. In an odd coincidence, Spinoza's ex-boyfriend, Sergeant Vincent Guida, retired from the NYPD after it emerged he was living in New Jersey, violating the department's residency requirement. Another case of fraud. High-ranking NYPD Sergeants Union official retires after discipline for living in New Jersey. A senior official with the NYPD Sergeants Union has admitted to violating the department's residency requirements and abruptly retired earlier this month, the Daily News has learned. Do you mean fraud? Sergeant Vincent Guida, 55, has served in several top positions with the Sergeants Benevolent Association, including Health and Welfare Secretary. His retirement comes soon after long-term SBA President Ed Mullins resigned from his post and retired from the NYPD following a raid in early October by federal agents on his home and office. The subject of the Mullins investigation remains unclear. So he rolled with fraudulent people. On October 15th, in the NYPD trial room, Guida admitted he was guilty of violating a requirement that cops live in the city or nearby New York counties and failing to obey a direct order, records obtained by the news show. The details of the direct order were not available. Guida had to forfeit 60 vacation days. He then filed his retirement papers. Public records indicate that Guida bought a house near Freehold, New Jersey in 2011 with NYPD Sergeant Sally Spinoza for $613,000. Guida took sole ownership of the home in 2017, records show. He listed his primary residence as a home on Staten Island in a 2017 property transaction document, but a mortgage document from September 28th of this year described him as residing in the New Jersey home. Spinoza, who was assigned to the Staten Island Investigation Unit, pleaded guilty in August to repeatedly lying on applications for 9/11 related benefits from the 9/11 Victims Compensation Fund. Another fraud case. Guida and Spinoza bought the New Jersey house together while they were dating, sources say. She sold him her share of the home when they broke up. Guida's misconduct case and Spinoza's criminal case are unrelated, sources say, except birds of a feather flock together. Guida's retirement was not prompted by his disciplinary case, he said. Except where there's smoke, there's fire. I've had 30 years of service, so it's time for me to wrap it up, he said. That's it. It's just time for me to go in. This climate, this atmosphere, I did my time, did my service, that's it. He added that his retirement also had nothing to do with the Mullins investigation. Nope, absolutely zero. Nope, Guida said. Guida, who was normally assigned to a post in Staten Island while he conducted union duties, was marshal and citywide secretary for the union. He joined the NYPD in 1988 and was promoted to sergeant in 1998, records show. Vincent Vallelong, the newly appointed SBA president, did not return phone calls. The law firm that represents the SBA was not available for comment. Mark Mikowski, a lawyer for Mullins, also did not respond for comment.